Hello, what's going on? Welcome to the G-Hole Podcast, the greatest hour of listening ever. I am Ray DeVito. Bob Biggerstaff is my co-host. And today, man, we had on a good buddy of mine, Boris Khaykin. I am pronouncing his name correctly. There's a silent K in there. A buddy of mine for years. We've done a bunch of shows together. We did a rap song together back in the day of Adam TV. And great dude. And you got to reveal a fetish on this show, or a guilty pleasure, if you will. And Boris is into action movies. And so Bob is also big into them. So this is kind of like their podcast. And I don't know. I don't know. I've always, like, if I'm watching a movie, like, let's say Mission Impossible, and I appreciate the action scenes and all that, but it's going to work out in the end. So I've always been a guy that's been into a good story. Like, he's going to win and blah, blah, blah. But they're into those action movies, which is awesome to listen to them talk to and get into that. You can follow Boris on Twitter at the Boris K. And and we also years ago, man, I used to host a show, Sacapuntas, at Bowery Poetry Club. And then when it shut down, I went to the UCB. And so I talked about the UCB a little bit. It wasn't even something I was going to bring up. Boris, I think, still does stuff with the UCB. So the UCB was in the hot seat. They still don't pay comics for their shows or whatever. But there was a big controversy a couple years back for the UCB, and I had a different, because I moved a show there, a successful show that always sold out. You could tell Boris gets uncomfortable talking about this. Wasn't even going to talk about it, but it was just like the UCB came up or whatever. And I had a show, and they were supposed to automatically, I had access, because I was doing web videos at the time for Asylum.com, which was AOL's men's website, and then also for Guy Code Blog on MTV too. And so I was like, all right, I don't care if I get paid for my show, but now I have access to the film equipment. Like, let's do it. And they're supposed to send you on auditions, and they never did and stuff. So I quit doing my show there because of that. I wanted to get into that with Boris a little bit, but we did not get it. He felt a little uncomfortable talking about, which is fine. Again, that wasn't something I wanted to discuss, but I always thought, because I do respect. I think for the UCB, for there's any young comics listening to this, if you come up through the UCB, then the UCB is good. But otherwise, if you already got something going on and then you go there to do a show or something, it's not really necessary. I'd say that's where I would leave it. But they you know what they are, and I respect them, and I had good times there. I still enjoy performing on other people's shows there, so it's good times. But all right, enjoy this, and talk to the G-Hole Pod on Instagram and Twitter. There we go. What's up?
Step up to the G-Hole.
There we go.
Take two.
Boris Khaykin.
What up?
We learned that you are not Russian. You're Ukrainian.
Ukrainian.
I just learned that on the previous 30 seconds, which we're redoing.
I generally don't correct people, whether it's about how to pronounce my last name or whether I'm from Ukraine and not. Again, because when I was there, it was all USSR. So,
but it starts with a K, so I'm imagining most people can't pronounce it correctly unless you tell them.
Right. It's true. I just got tired of it. I just got tired of it because people say Khaykin, and then if someone asks, if you ask me how to pronounce my last name, which good hosts do.
How do you spell it?
Khaykin.
The K's silent.
Yeah.
But I got the same thing. My great-grandparents, the area that they're from is now Slovakia, but it wasn't when they were alive, when they were from there. It was a different part of some other country. I don't, because they were
it was Czechoslovakia probably.
Split.
And Russia also
the
occupied
Slovakian
it.
DeVitos.
Yeah.
Are you
really?
on my mom's side. But those grandparents died when I was
the ones that got raped by the Italians.
They were in the Italian part of Slovakia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I only got to know more about my Italian side, because they were alive a lot longer. Although both my parents are dead now, so.
Sorry.
Yeah, it sucks, but it happens. But we're alive, we're here, we're doing this. Thanks for coming on, man. Dude, you remember this apartment? You've been in this apartment before. We did a rap song in this apartment many years ago.
I know, and I feel like every time I see you now, that's still your basis for me.
No.
You bring up I don't think I've seen you once in the past.
Put a link to that video on the
Oh,
Of course.
we're not.
I've seen, we did that video like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I don't know if and I see Ray often enough. I don't think I've seen you once where you didn't bring up doing a rap together.
All right. Well,
Are you embarrassed by that?
I'm all right. Yeah,
You
no.
look like it a little bit. I just specifically, it's true. You have brought it up almost every time I see you.
I'm never bringing it up again.
It's also me being defensive because I have a chip on my shoulder because I don't do any of the rap comedy stuff anymore.
Oh, that's why.
And so, no, that's not the only reason why. Listen, we're both weird here. You're weird for bringing it up all the time, but I'm a little weird for being defensive about it.
Well, you know what's because we both were involved with Comedy Central, Adam TV, like doing sketches for them.
Yeah,
and that's like the only sketch I did for that they. At first they wanted, and then they didn't want it. If you remember, because McCaffrey left town, and DeRosa was going to
all the names that were going to sell it.
Yeah, but I mean, it was, and then it was like, okay, well, this premise for this video is now not the same. It was just weird. So that's. You know what I do miss about that Adam TV? That's the only time in my life I ever pitched television shows. That was Christina and Tabitha, and I don't even know if they're still there, but yeah, I used to pitch TV shows.
Wait, you pitched them to a website?
No.
Well,
No,
Adam.
I pitched
So
TV
what it
shows.
was
They're part of
Adam
Comedy
TV had a place
I remember
at
when
like
I remember when it was
midnight.
on comedies. Yeah,
at
yeah.
like midnight. So you were. It was like kind of a little roundabout way
remember
of getting
seeing
to
that,
pitch
yeah.
to Comedy Central.
Yeah. No, but I actually did. You ever pitch shows? Like I pitched everything. Every time I pitch a show to them, everything was like, "Oh, we got to turn a camera on. Yeah, we don't have the budget for that. Oh, we got to turn a light on. Yeah, that's not in the budget." Like all the ideas I had were all too expensive. That's a nice way of saying that sounds like shit. That's really what I think. It's like, well, we're gonna have to plug something in. That's gonna cost money.
I mean, there's a million reasons why they reject stuff.
Yeah, but the cool thing was back in those days is I actually got to pitch TV shows. Like you think back then, like, oh, I'll always get to pitch TV shows. Like, no, I haven't pitched anything since.
Well, you got to work on that.
Yeah, it is what it is. But that's not why we're here. What's up, man? Did you see the movie Batman? Let's get into this Batman.
The movie Batman?
Jesus Christ,
Joker,
Ray.
the Joker. Joker.
Yeah, no,
You
I did.
just saw it last night. Who's not in that movie?
Batman's in the movie?
You know what? Actually, sort of. Bruce Wayne is in the movie. We'll give Ray credit there.
Dude, here's my problem with superhero movies.
Young Bruce. That's my new rap name.
I'm not even like a comic book nerd, but the origin story's got to stay. It's not the origin of Joker. They didn't stick to the origin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really.
No, there is. I don't read all the comic books either, but I've read enough about the movie. I mean, I saw the movie, but I read enough about it that there is some comic book where he is a failed stand-up comic. There actually is a graphic novel of Joker.
I mean,
like
here's
that.
the
There's
thing.
a million.
But he
People
falls
have
into
reinvented
acid.
it.
Can we do spoilers here? Is that okay?
Yeah, let's.
I mean, that was one of the things, though, is that, like, you know, one of the things that actually bothered me, because what you guys overall, did you like it, dislike it?
I thought it was all right if you get past the fact that it wasn't an accurate story.
It was definitely different. Well, I don't want you.
I don't care about the accuracy
What
at
do you mean
all.
by
I do.
accuracy?
And that's not. The
You just said you're
origin.
not a comic book nerd.
Like the best comic book movie I've ever seen.
They all have different.
No, you got to stick to the origin. You
Why?
can make up other shit. You just have to.
How did Joker become Joker in the Batman movies
first-
with Michael Keaton?
No. Well, they don't tell his origin story. Then.
so I
He's
was
just
told
a
that I was told by a comic book
it
nerd.
shows how he became Joker. Jack Nicholson got dropped into a fucking vat of goo.
Yes, and that's how he turned into the Joker. Yeah, he was an actual criminal, and then he fell into.
How did Heath Ledger become Joker?
Also, that sucks as an origin story. I feel like every other fucking one is they got dropped into a vat of goo.
Yeah, that's pretty
like,
easy.
I don't really care about sticking to that.
Well, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is the exact first issue of Spider-Man where he got bit by a radioactive spider.
Man, you said you weren't a comic book nerd, and I'm not
really.
wrestling.
I'm not
but
buying
it's
it.
just got to be accurate. And the whole thing where he went into a wrestling tournament, he won it, and then the guy got the prize money, and the guy
We're not even talking about the right movie
And then
anymore.
when they rebooted it twice, they changed it both times. I mean, different guy. That's the
That's
thing.
why I like
don't
the Tobey
care
Maguire
about.
one. It just
I don't
give me
care
some
if somebody
accuracy.
doesn't follow the book or the comic book, whatever, because I know they're different. Because you can't make any book that you a script is a page a minute.
And this was supposed to be a different thing. This wasn't supposed to like fit into the rest of the world.
But also, like I said, there is a graphic novel where he's a.
So what are they going to do? Change it the next
comedian.
time? So now he's a different Joker?
Well, it's just not part of
I bet you in the next 20 years, there will be a different Joker.
But the way this movie is, the Waynes are the bad guys.
Well,
there's
so
no
I
reason to like fucking Batman now. His dad is worse than fucking Trump in this movie.
No. Well, first of all, that wasn't the case though, right? Because his dad wasn't his father. He was just he's rich, basically, is all it is, and he's a bad guy if you look at it through like your progressive viewpoint, basically, which is what they're trying to touch on in society now.
Yeah,
I thought
his
the
dad
movie
was a huge dick in the movie.
Why? Why was he a huge dick?
Batman's dad.
Why was he a huge dick? Because he's rich?
Dude, he's a fucking douche to everybody.
I think he's just like a fucking typical rich politician guy, but I don't know if he was excessively bad or anything. He wasn't a villain. He didn't like kill anybody. He was like just a rich guy. He was like a neoliberal.
To everyone he interacted with, when he didn't know who the Joker was in the bathroom or whatever, he just thought he was a dick. And like, what the fuck do you want? Like,
yeah, because the guy's creeping him out. He showed up to his son and was like touching his son's face.
He didn't know that was the guy that was touching his son's face.
Yeah, he did. He said he
did. He goes, if you come by my kid again, I'll kill you.
After he did.
No, he
and
knew.
then he punched the guy. No, not when he first saw the guy.
Well, yeah, when he first...
The guy was being a creep in a bathroom.
Do you walk into bathrooms like that? Do you walk into bathrooms, see someone you don't know just happen to be in the bathroom?
Who's creeping?
Like, hey,
he didn't walk in the bathroom.
Dude, he was creepy as shit.
The Joker came in while he was taking a piss.
I think you just don't like him because of disdain for wealth.
The Joker guy came in and was fucking staring at him while he was taking a piss.
Yeah, you could argue whether he was a good guy or not, but he was not a villain.
Next time you go into a bathroom...
Mr. Wayne didn't come walking into the bathroom and go, what are you looking at,
You
dickhead?
can say he was not a good guy, but to call him a villain is silly. He's not a villain. Either way, this didn't fit into like an art... So one of the things that a comic book nerd did tell me is that like typically in the comic books, and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, this was just told to me, that the Joker he's a one-dimensional character. He's like the devil. He's just like, he doesn't really have depth as to like an origin, even as far as like emotionally or like
because he was just a random dude written into a comic book like in 1948.
Exactly.
He's like, Batman exists. Well, Batman needs a bad guy. Okay, well then there's this criminal who falls into acid and now
anybody who writes a new comic book about him can probably do whatever they want.
Right, you can create new shit. I liked it overall, and I thought Joaquin Phoenix was awesome. My main criticism was, and I think this was on purpose, they definitely like pushed the controversy to promote the movie, right? Because like there were people from one side criticizing, saying it promoted violence and other like dumb shit in my opinion. But then they were also like Todd Phillips even wrote like, I can't do comedy anymore because everyone's too sensitive. So that's why I did this Joker movie. And then he does that speech at the end where he like connects like you determine morals just like you determine what's funny.
I didn't see a speech at the end. There was a speech at the end?
What? Right before he shoots fucking De Niro. He's like, you determine morality.
At the very end, right? Just when
at the very end, yeah. And I was like, yo, this sounds like a lot of fucking people I know in comedy who like complain about stuff. This dude's done stand-up twice. Why would he have any insight as to like the audience determining what's funny?
He's definitely well connected with the time of the comedians because that's how it is now. Every person does one open mic and like, do you see this? There's safe space open mics. Have you seen that? There's some open mics going around right now where it's like these are safe space where this can be talked about. And
there's lots of them.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I've done those shows.
I think it's fine. If you want to do it, it's fine. I don't think it makes you.
I didn't know they were until I got there, but then I was like, okay.
I don't think it makes you a good comic if that's the only thing you do. But if there's people that want to go to those open mics and get better that way, and then go to other shit, that's fine. I don't care.
There was definitely a difference with what I was doing than what everybody else was doing.
Right.
I wasn't aware that it was a safe space open mic.
I started doing a lot of comedy at UCB that became kind of like very progressive before the rest of comedy became that progressive. And the funny thing with those is like people don't look at it that way almost in those safe spaces. They almost look at like, if you look at what like people do in clubs and outside, UCB is like, they'll call that hacky, right? If you talk about whether your joke is good or not, they'll like just say it's hacky because the premise is like whatever. But then you have the flip side where you go to UCB and everyone's premises are like about being a nerd or about comic books, or like hack is relative, basically.
Right, yeah. No, I
So
hear
you have what's hacky in those safe spaces, and you might sound original and subversive in those, and to you, everyone else sounds hacky. And then if somebody else goes to like a different mic where I've been to plenty of mics that are not, safe spaces, and the opposite, where everybody's still talking about kind of the same shit, and it just happens to be that what's hacky there is that.
How was your experience with you? Because I had Sack Punjas for a while at the UCB and stuff. And like the thing about the UCB, nobody gets paid or anything, which is fine. But then there's supposed to be all these other benefits that they do, like all these auditions that you're privy to that other people aren't privy to.
I had some of those benefits.
Oh, you did?
I hosted a show there, and I also wrote and performed on one of their like digital sketch teams. And then my show got cut, and I immediately got taken off all those opportunities. Immediately got taken off the mailing list for auditions and stuff. Immediately got taken off of their performers page.
They didn't give me that much stuff. They gave me a little bit of stuff, and then as soon as I had a chance to do something better with it, I was like, oh, this is a hot show. The second I was like, oh, well, listen, this show's now bigger than this space. Like, I need to just do it. I still love to do stuff with you guys. And then, I was dead to them.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people on their dick. So, like, I get it. You need to some way filter people or whatever. I like doing my show. I did improv versus stand-up there for a couple of years. I hosted a mic there for a bunch of years. I liked doing my show there. And when they cut it, I wanted to keep doing it. And I realized how much they made it easier because, they didn't pay me and nobody there got paid, whatever. But at the same time, I didn't end up continuing the show because I didn't want to put in the work. I'm now thinking about bringing it back and finding a producer.
Where are they at now? Subculture or something?
Well, when they moved to Subculture is when they cut that show because they had so much less time slots. And afterwards, I was like, you know what? It was pretty nice. People produce shows for free all over this city and don't pay people. It was pretty nice having this show where I barely had to promote, just having it on the UCB site. I almost always had a pretty good audience. And so, like, everybody bitches about everything. I think there's probably a model where UCB can pay performers, but at the same time, like, if I don't like it, I'll go. It was one thing that I did among a bunch of other places I did comedy.
As long as you know what, that whole thing, when that was a big deal, I mean, it's not as much a big a deal now, just it's not a hot topic in comedy.
Yeah, everybody who got fed up
it's
left,
like, you know
and then
what?
everybody who wanted to put up
it's
with
like
it
everybody knows how it works there.
Exactly.
It's not like you put together a show. It's not like people put together a show and then they're like, what, I did this show and we sold all these tickets and I don't get any money. It's like, no, you know that ahead of time, so make your own fucking decision.
And if you...
For people to complain, I mean, you can bitch about it all you want, but it's like, right, well, you don't have to do shows there. And if they were lying to people... And not, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the part that a lot of people did have a problem with, is that like audiences might not know. Which there's some argument there where like you're going to a show, you might assume the people performing are being compensated.
Well, it doesn't even have to do with the audience. I mean,
it does a little bit because as an audience member, if you're going and you're paying $12 to see a show, you might be doing that under the assumption that the performers are getting paid. Again, I don't know how much that changes, but like as an audience member, I could see myself wanting to know if none of my money is going to. I don't think that's as big a deal as.
I just said the opposite thing of you. Like we didn't need that space.
Of
Get
course,
what I'm saying?
Not gonna
It was we already had our own thing going.
Then fuck it, we go elsewhere.
But the second that I realized that or whatever, it's like, hey, like I was dead to them. That's all I'm saying. Like, I was immediately dead to them.
Yeah,
The second I was like, hey,
that makes sense.
But they weren't doing that much stuff for me to begin with.
Right, and you weren't doing that much for them. I mean, look, it's all fucking relative. The big thing for me is like there's a lot of people.
A sold out show every.
Yeah, but if you didn't, somebody else would. You're just as replaceable to them as they are to you. And the point is, who has more leverage? That's all that really matters.
Yeah, like I was doing web videos for Asylum at the time, the AOL's website, but before I didn't even know that Asylum. Had a studio, a green screen studio. Like I realized after the fact, but like UCB wasn't even going to let me use their equipment.
Did Asylum pay you?
They ended up paying me, but at first they weren't. It was like just.
But now they're shut down.
Yeah, they're
UCB's still here.
Does UCB
because they didn't have the right model.
Do they still have the one place? Or
yeah, they're also shut. To be fair, I mean the bubble's just bursting. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with them, but I'm hearing
the newer place
ripples of more and more bad news. Well, the newer place, I heard they signed a 10-year lease on.
What's that? Subculture? You still haven't answered.
No.
Where's it at?
The Hell's Kitchen space.
Oh, the one
way
which
out
is
there.
The original. Yeah.
No, not the original. The original was Chelsea. Jersey. That closed.
Dude, the one in Hell's Kitchen. When I first moved here, or well, no, this is back in like
The one on like 26th Street or whatever?
Yeah, honestly, this is so fun for me because sometimes I'll talk about UCB to people who have been like, UCB dorks for a long time. And it's great talking to somebody who doesn't even know where between the two spaces are because it's like a healthy perspective of someone who hasn't been like brainwashed for that's honestly my biggest problem.
I know the one you're talking about on 26th Street, which I remember.
No, the 26th Street one is closed is what I'm saying.
So where is this fucking
He just
location?
said Hell's Kitchen.
Where in Hell's Kitchen?
Like
Hell's Kitchen's
42nd and like 10 between 10th and 11th, practically 11th.
Dude,
I think.
it is.
I've never been
It
there.
is in.
It's way out there.
A bill. I can't
That's
imagine.
why, yeah.
I can't imagine what their rent is unless they got some sort of like artist.
Apparently, they
discount or
got some sort
something.
of really good deal, which is why they jumped on it.
Dude,
it was
this place. I never. When I went over there,
It's like a theater. It's like a legit.
it
black
made
box.
me. It legit made me mad that they don't pay anybody because this place is in such. It's in a brand new building, like it's insane. It should not be where like the other place. You could tell it had been there for a while. They had like those old movie theater seats,
Right.
And you're like, okay, this is the new place. It's like
I mean, they got interns cleaning toilets.
it's fucking insane.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, that was like a big thing.
I guess I
early
should
on.
go check it out just to see it, but I didn't.
I just got mad because I was like, they got this place and they're still not paying people.
I mean, that's the thing is that there's a bunch of reasons like that. They
Should not have a place there unless they just got a. I mean, like you said, if they got a really good deal,
I think
there's
they got
no
a
way
good
it should
deal,
be there
but I
because
also
that place has got to be fucking.
But I also think it's just who knows what's going
Insane.
on with their books because I think there's a lot of poor decisions made and clearly they're shutting stuff down and they're trying to figure like people didn't get paid at one point. Amy Poehler had to cut a check because their books weren't balanced and they literally while they still had the Beast, people didn't get paid for like a few weeks and she had to cut a check herself and save
the
it.
people that were teaching classes.
No, so that's the other thing, right? Is that
Well, who
they
else would
claim
get paid? Employees?
There's like general managers, there's
Right.
a tech and stuff like that, and so but yeah, that's funny though. But like the other thing they claim is
Oh,
that
the tech guy doesn't work for free.
I think some do, some don't. I don't know, but yeah, it is like what
That's the other thing too. Like I had a show there for months, and I really didn't know the people that were running, were working the show. Like you don't really get to know them. It's like kind of like not very personal. Like, oh hey,
I mean, it's a community, and I'm holding air quotes in case anybody can't see it, or since
I
people
guarantee
can't
it,
see
nobody
it.
can
yeah.
see
Even
it.
when I was even when I was in, I never felt like I was in. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I always felt like
well,
an
that's-
outsider,
that's
even though I was
That's
in.
honestly how a lot of people. I know people there on house teams and stuff that were like, I thought I. That's just because everybody in comedy has a fucking imposter syndrome and a chip on their shoulder.
It's fine. It is what it is. But like, I never felt like I was like in. Like I felt like it's like being on the Yankees, but you're not on the Yankees.
I'm just always
Like,
skeptical.
This is just a dude
with,
that
like-
plays third base, but he's not really a Yankee.
Right. I'm just always skeptical when people throw around the word community too much. Like in the same way, like I worked at a startup for a while and people really drank the Kool-Aid at this place. And I remember trying to like young people that would get there and I'd be like, okay, this is your first job out of college. Just like, this isn't your family. Like they'll fire you if they need to fire you. And I feel like people had the same way, like young people in UCB where they like start to think that like, it's a machine and it only cares about you as much as like it needs to until it does it,
Right. Yeah, it would be weird too. Like some of the ushers, like the kids that were the ushers, were like overly nice to you, like which is fine. Like, but it's like I want to be like, kid, I can't help you with anything.
Right.
It's like I have.
Well,
no,
they might just be being nice. Who knows? There's too much going on there to really even like speak about it clearly.
I wish them the best, but I'm just saying. Even when I was in, I never felt like I was in there.
Yeah.
If that makes
Same.
sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, and I'm sure anybody listening who was ever involved that'll make sense to them as well.
I don't know. I don't know why we went into. I wasn't even trying to get into this. See what you do, Boris?
I didn't
You
do
put me
this.
in therapy, comedy therapy.
This is your podcast. I'm just going with the flow.
But yeah, man.
We were trying to talk about the Joker.
So it's all because the Joker started out as a comedian, apparently.
Yeah.
Dude, so when did you get into comedy, man? I met you, man, like 10 years ago. What was your deal, man? I only knew you, and this is the last time, but I knew you just as a guy that made videos. Like, I didn't even know you did stand-up or anything.
Well, I did improv and I did the like musical comedy stuff.
Where'd you grow up, man? Where'd you go to high school?
Jersey, Edison, New Jersey, Central Jersey.
Okay.
And then I went to college at Rutgers. Then I moved to New York. I started doing improv classes and playing songs on my guitar and making like beats and trying to do funny raps. And then Stand Up New York had this music as a joke competition that was like an 8-week long thing. And you would have to do 10 new minutes of musical comedy every week. And they give you a suggestion. And I would do like a few songs and I would talk in between. And I
What year
just
is
liked
this?
it more. This is probably like 2008, 2009.
Cool.
And so around then, 2009 was when I was like, doing more stuff at like New York and in clubs. I was like, oh, the song stuff is like a little corny and I don't have that good of a voice. And the people that I see that I admire doing musical comedy where it's good, they sing really well because it sells the joke better. And I don't sing that well, it's just, to me, it doesn't sell the joke as well when it feels like you're doing it as a joke. Whereas when you're a good singer, it feels like you're doing seriously and it sells the joke better. And then also, you could do like so many more jokes in the time that you turn one joke into a 4-minute song.
Who's your favorite comedians back then? Or whether the
back then,
music
probably,
comedy?
Well, back then, probably like Geraldo. Oh, musical comedy?
Yeah.
Musical comedy, I mean, I got into it listening to like Stephen Lynch, like I'm sure a lot of kids did.
Right.
But I liked, what else?
You know Henry Phillips?
Uh-uh.
Oh,
He's a buddy of ours.
He's great.
He's great at music comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I
Dude, I used to love Adam Sandler. I mean, I got into
Yeah,
Bob.
for sure,
I fucking
for sure.
loved Adam Sandler.
Yeah, but even when I was doing musical
Piece of
comedy,
shit
I
car
still
and everything.
admired stand-up more. And when I started doing more kind of jokes in between these songs, I was kind of like, I like this more. I don't feel as embarrassed. Like there was a part of me that thought I would get over being embarrassed while doing musical comedy, but I was still, and I kept doing I was doing musical improv up until 2 years ago with North Coast because I enjoyed playing with the team and I got a lot better in other ways comedically, and they still perform as a team. They're like touring colleges, headlining festivals. We had like pilots that were with like networks and stuff, like doing really well. I just kind of started. I'm like getting married, and I started.
Oh, you getting married?
I'm getting married.
When are you getting married?
February.
February, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have I met her?
I think you did. Yeah, I think you've met Megan. I'm not.
How'd you guys
positive.
meet?
We met on a dating app.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I like how there's no new fucking stories now because of these dating apps. Like, you want to hear something romantic? and
Yeah,
it's
but
like-
you know what? I think
the
it's pretty
dating
good.
app or a dating app?
Oh, I said a dating app. We met on Coffee Meets Bagel. The first date I ever
I
had on
remember
there.
those, yeah,
I had one
yeah.
date on there, and it was her.
Ha.
Yeah. But, I think it's fine. I went to like 4 weddings last summer, and 3 of them were like Tinder and Hinge or whatever. But it's honestly, it's not bad. People are trying to meet people at bars.
makes
Everybody's
sense. It
fucking
makes way more
antisocial now, and it's at least it lets people be on the same page in one way or another when they're
Yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
you know? But back to that. I just
Gets
had a
you
lot of
straight to fucking.
yeah, or that. I mean, I just had a lot.
What'd you guys do
going
your
on.
first date?
It was
They had coffee and a bagel.
No, we went to. It's closed now.
Well,
It's
then
a
you're not allowed
bar.
to get married. If
You went to the
if you did
UCB?
not have coffee and a
Yeah.
bagel.
No, it was a
Met
bar
at
in,
the UCB. So this
Fort
is the
Greene.
Chelsea location.
Yeah, no, she went out to some shows of mine and stuff, but no, we went to a bar, just grabbed some drinks. But yeah, I just had a lot going on. And I had to cut stuff out, and so I'd already known that stand up was kind of the thing that I loved most. But yeah, I started doing videos because I started writing for a team at UCB, 6 years ago or whatever. And I signed on also as an ed. I just wanted more control over my stand-up to expose myself more. And as I started writing and directing stuff, I realized I was better at writing and directing than I was at acting. I love stand-up, but I think I'm a pretty mediocre actor. And I think if I do it with a director I trust, then I enjoy doing it. But I would write sketches and be like, yeah, I'll put myself in it. And then I would write it and I'll be like, you know what? I know this person would do a much better job in it than I would acting-wise. And I'd rather just direct it and
That's
edit it.
hilarious. We have different UCB perspectives because I wanted to get into it for the video stuff, and they wouldn't do basically shit with me. And other people oh, hey, you got this show. I met those asylum people because they would go to Sacapuntas and they're like, oh, that's fine. And I would open the show because it's the same people. It's a sold out show every month, and it's always the same people that be there every month. It also helps when Jim Gaffigan's dropping in every single time just because he lives upstairs from it. And And it was always the
He
same.
lived upstairs from where? From the Beast?
No, this is when we moved to Bowery Poetry Club.
Oh, gotcha.
And because it was me, I was the host every month. I only got so many jokes. I would just take whatever topic, like Christmas, and then I would just show slides of like different pictures of like funny Christmas pictures and just joke on those. Just easy jokes to do. And this is already a room full of people that already like me and are rooting for me.
Yeah.
So then Asylum was there and like, oh, you should just do these as videos. Where when I was doing that at the UCB, I had content that would have done very well online if they would have given a shit, but
but their digital shit went to shit anyway. They had
it's fine, but it's weird because I wanted to get into that stuff. That's one of the reasons why I kind of seek them out. They wanted no interest, but then just some outsider watching it approached me was like, oh, these should be videos. And
but also they rarely.
videos online.
Did you do the classes there and stuff?
Yeah, when I first moved here,
okay.
I did.
Probably not. I mean, honestly, probably just not enough because they really just like it's very insular in that way. They want you to dump your money and take their classes and do it their way, you know?
Yeah, but it was just funny. Like it was a different experience. Like it's like I said, like I felt like I was there, but I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like I was in, but I was still on the outside.
Do we want to try to get back to the Joker?
Oh, what else you got on the Joker, man? Yeah, fucking.
No, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out. We're gonna talk about
Bob
UCB
does that all the time.
time.
He goes on his phone and does his own shit. He's zones out.
What do you got there, Bob?
I'm listening to you.
He's looking at what he's going to eat later.
Checking messages.
He's got to have 10,000 calories a day.
I'm checking messages.
He's only up to 6,000.
Hilarious, Ray.
1 calorie for every Twitter follower.
What are you talking about?
The Joker, man.
No, we're not. You were fucking repeating your stupid UCB stories.
I was just.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Did it bounce off my head and into the
I
trash?
think
Bob
I
is
think it might
throwing
have- I think
shit
I might
at
have alley-ooped
Boris.
you.
on the floor.
He's doing that because he found out
Sorry.
you're not Russian.
Disappointing.
Yeah. So all right, man. So you're into superheroes. This Arrow guy. Tell me about your Arrow.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not into
obsession.
superheroes. I didn't read comic books as a kid. I slowly. I like some of the superhero movies. Some have won me over. I just like action. I love like The Raid and The Raid 2. You know those movies?
Oh yeah, I love those.
Those are like. I still don't think any action movie made in the U.S. has come close to how good those are.
I know. What are they about? I never saw the.
It
the
doesn't
Raid.
fucking matter what they're about. Like it's not even the plot. It's just like a
When did
video
they come
game.
out?
The Raid is cops
Like 10, 15
basically
years
a SWAT
ago.
team in Thailand goes to try to grab to arrest a bad guy. And
Are these real
I
movies?
think that's
or
the-
these
yeah,
they go to his
That might
apart-
be The Raid 2, right?
No. And they go to his apartment building, and the bad guys have control of the whole apartment building. So these cops
Right,
get
right,
trapped,
right.
and it's massively violent, but they're kung fu action movies. And
It's just the plot doesn't even matter. It's
There's
just
a movie
the
called-
choreography is so good.
That
The
guy's- how
many have there
cinematography.
been?
that guy's first movie, the
Two.
guy that did The Raid.
Yeah, the director.
There's a movie called Marin Tao, and it's got that Uko Elias or
Yeah.
whatever his name is.
I've seen the short they did together too.
That used to be on Netflix, but it was a couple of years ago.
Oh, I'll
but this
download it
movie
on
Marin
Pirate
Tao is and if you like, it's
Love
just
that
as
shit.
good. It's just as good as all.
Yeah,
that
it's
stuff.
it's just like the fight choreography and the cinematography is like above and beyond anything. Like maybe John Wick 3 came close to that.
And you said they're not American.
It's
no,
a
those
white guy.
movies. Those movies are way better than John Wick as
Oh,
far
way
as
better.
fight scenes and stuff.
But just I thought John Wick 3 had some good shit, but
Yeah. No,
but they definitely learned
do.
from The Raid and The Raid 2, like undoubtedly. It's just the
When did these come out? The Raid and the Raid
one was
2?
like probably 10, 15 years ago, and the other one's maybe
no
like
more than
yeah,
no more than 10.
in the 2000s.
Raid 2 came out probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
It's a team. It's a white guy and a Thai guy. I think like the Thai guy is a fight choreographer.
Are you talking
and
about
he's
Rush
like,
Hour?
No, but name another.
no,
like,
people know the Raid and Raid 2 Redemption.
You'd be surprised how many people don't, though. People that I know that are like into action. I'm like, wait, you're in it. You need to watch this. Literally, it's like way better than any other action.
They're
movie
just
I've ever
and
seen.
they're really
Brutal.
really violent, like
Super
blood.
violent.
They made another movie on. There's a movie on Netflix that has.
The two of them.
I know it's got the eco guy, and it's got if you remember from the first Raid, one of those cops that had.
I gotta rewatch it. It's
that
been
had
a while.
mustache. I'll find what it is.
Well, either way, so I just like that kind of shit, and so
I
back
love
to
I
Arrow,
love those kind of movies. Yeah.
my guilty pleasure, right? That's the theme of the podcast, or is it UCB? Arrow, it's just like for a generic CW show that now has like, I don't know, 8 seasons. I'm not caught up fully, but that has like 8 seasons. It's pretty good, like fight choreography, pretty decent cinematography. They do some good like match frame shots. Like it's just like relatively well
So
done.
you like watching fighting?
I do, yeah. I love a
So
good fight
I
scene.
assume you're into like UFC and shit.
Yeah,
Like,
me too.
no.
I love watching.
Well, that's weird. Why are you into fake fighting and not real fight? First of all, I'm not really into like UFC. I'm not into fighting. To
I
begin with.
respect UFC stuff. I don't have like really a moral opposition to it. And I've been at friends' houses before
But
where I've
why are
watched
you
it and
into
I
fighting?
enjoyed
Are
it.
you into special effects? Are you into the actual?
I'm into the action.
fighting?
I'm into fucking watching and fucking bobbing
No, he's
my
not.
head as
He's
they're
obviously
fighting.
not in. He said he doesn't like UFC or anything. He's not into actual fighting. He's into like
So
TV
that's why it's
and
like
movie fighting.
special effects.
Yeah, I
then.
grew up fucking watching like Jean-Claude
He likes
Van
action
Damme
movies.
movies,
Yeah.
Bloodsport, and
Steven Seagal.
I saw all those at the movie
some
theater.
Steven Seagal's Under Siege and maybe some of that, but I fucking loved Jean-Claude Van Damme. I feel like as a little kid, I definitely like idolized Jean-Claude
Yeah.
Van Damme. Who else was there?
There
that
hasn't
was
been an
good?
action movie that has like as popular as the UFC is. That's not good to watch in a movie, in an action movie, to have like guys, UFC guys.
It's different. This is like dancing.
Right.
It's like
yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, when you watch a movie, you want to see guys doing, a fight scene. You want flying.
yeah,
kicks.
and
You
it's
want-
brutal to the point where it's not like in John Wick 3 when he like fucking have you guys seen it?
Sure.
When he kills the dude with the book.
Yeah.
It's just I'm laughing out loud. It's it's so
Matt
brutal.
Damon almost did that in the first Bourne movie.
Oh really?
Well, he takes a book and
Oh
jabs a guy
yeah.
in the
Yeah,
throat
those are
and-
cool too. But like when it's a dope fight scene, it's just like it's brutal to the point where like you kind of got to laugh at it. Whereas in UFC, it's like actually real, so it's not funny at the least. And I kind of like action in a funny way.
Well, like I said, when you're watching a TV or movie fight scene, you don't want to see in real life. Watching UFC, it's exciting to see the guys grabbing each other and throwing them on the ground, whatever,
Right.
and they're wrestling, they're doing jujitsu. But in a movie, that's not people want to see like Van Damme. I mean, maybe not so much anymore, but Van Damme flying.
Although,
kicks. But there's different guys.
Have you seen JCVD?
It's evolved a little bit. Yeah,
That was fucking cool.
What's
I
that?
really
I've
liked
seen
it.
all that shit.
It's
JCVD,
weird.
Jean-Claude
It's
Van
like
Damme.
a meta postmodern Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, relatively new, right? In the 2000s.
it's probably maybe 10 years.
Like new era Jean-Claude Van Damme where he plays himself. He is Jean-Claude Van Damme in a movie. Like he was like on mad cocaine throughout all the 80s, through all those movies.
Van Damme was.
Yeah. And so in this movie, like it's like him playing himself, but like a fictional version of himself. And he gets basically caught up in like a bank robbery. So the actor, right? I think that's what it was. Like the actor Jean-Claude Van Damme gets caught up as looking like he robbed. I think I'm like vaguely remembering the plot.
well,
I
but
just
he's
remember
like
it was really
he's like a
interesting.
pussy too.
Yeah, sort
is the
of. Because
thing.
he's the
He's not
actor.
like-
he just plays the hero on TV.
He
you
doesn't
know?
save. I mean, he knows karate and stuff. I mean, I would guess Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, he's a
I
trained
guarantee
martial
he could beat
artist.
all of us up. Yeah, he's a real martial artist.
And he's still fucking jacked.
But he plays
too.
like a pussy in the movie. Like, I mean, he's himself. He's a martial artist.
He's a fictionalized
guys,
version.
guys have guns, so he doesn't. He imagines
Like in the real world, you're not
he
going to
imagines
karate chop a
kicking a
bunch
guy
of
in the
dudes with
face.
machine guns.
What is with all this like comeback karate shit? Like they did the same thing with fucking Karate Kid now.
Yo, I
where it's
also
like
watched the
Karate
first 3
Kid.
episodes of that because they were free on YouTube. and
What's
it's
it called?
Fantastic.
Cobra Kai now.
Yeah,
or
it's
something?
great. It's great.
It's dude.
It's really, really fucking good.
Did
It's
you
funny.
fight
It's like
Did
ironically.
you fight a lot as a kid?
No, not really. I took karate, but I didn't like get into fights. I was a pussy for sure. I was tiny. I was like way smaller than everybody else in my grade.
You never watched like Van Damme movies? Or?
I did watch them. I guess I have a.
I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was never into
Jackie
fighting as a
Chan, I
kid.
was in
Like I
Love
fucking
Jackie
hated
Chan.
fighting.
When I was in
as a
college,
kid, so I
went to
wasn't into it.
They had like a film festival at like the artsy movie theater in Houston, and they were shot like every week. They would show 2 different Jackie Chan movies.
Yeah, he's great.
I was never into Jackie Chan
I would go
and stuff.
each week and watch. It was a double feature.
I've had a couple different phases. I had a phase where I downloaded like all these like Eastern like movies that are supposed to be influences on stuff. The Seven Samurai, I remember, was one.
Sure.
There were a couple others where
Kurosawa.
yeah, I don't have a lot of like knowledge of it, but I remember at one point I just started getting into some action. Like in high school, I watched all the like Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff, and then as an adult, I like started getting into some of the action stuff, and then I watched The Raid, and I was like, oh, I should check out some of the stuff that it's all influenced by. So I don't have like knowledge of it, but I had a phase where I like downloaded all these movies and watched them on flights and stuff.
Dude, how far did you get in karate?
I've like fucking, I don't know, yellow, blue, I don't know.
Oh, so you got belts?
I got belts, but it was like
you get a white one when you
I
start.
did karate at a mini Beeville community center in Jersey. Like it wasn't.
What do you got to do? Because I never took karate. What do you got to do to get a belt? Like,
you have like a routine. What's it called?
You pay money for a few months.
Right, exactly. Your parents pay money and have someone babysit
And then when
you.
it's your turn,
It's what's it called? Like it's a thing they have in karate tournaments where like you're not fighting anyone.
Kata.
But yeah, you do like a kata routine. And I fought. I did some fighting.
karate,
I was
too.
pretty
I
good
did all
for
that
a little
stuff.
kid.
did you get a
fought,
belt?
but like that's so funny. Like you fight, but it's not like you don't actually punch people. You don't actually.
What punch, but I do think it
they
builds
pit
character.
you against another kid. What do you do?
Well, you
Like the first time, did you?
you have padding on your feet. And
Yeah, you're
and
wearing
your
protection
hands.
on your shins and on all that stuff.
But like
and pads on your chest, but
Right.
and helmets,
You
but you're
basically
punching.
just tap the other person. You don't like you get in trouble if you really punch somebody.
No, I remember kicking pretty hard at people's chests and stuff because they were wearing the vests. I was
Oh, okay,
decent.
we didn't. When I did it, we didn't use the vest.
Oh no, we used the
This
vest.
was last
we hit.
week for Bob, by the way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, I think it's good. Honestly, just like like I said, I didn't fight
Dude.
much, but I remember being in a fight or two as a kid, and just that feeling of like your adrenaline fucking going up. I think that like just being in karate and just dealing with that a little bit and being a little bit comfortable with your adrenaline going up like that. I think that's good experience for anybody.
Right,
you know?
right. I just think like it's like when I go to the gym, there's a karate studio across the street, and seeing these little kids with their different colored belts, and their parents take them in. And I just think it's got to be weird for a parent to just stand there while your kid goes fight another kid. I mean, the way you guys are saying makes sense that they got like padding on and everything, so it's like you can't really hurt each other.
Yeah, I mean, when I did it, I mean, obviously there's different levels of what you can do. I mean, there's full contact, all this shit. But like when I did it, it was like when you were in these tournaments where you were fighting somebody. Obviously, they're supposed to be the same level as you, or very close to it. And then you would just, you could kick, you could punch, but you weren't supposed to really punch somebody. You were supposed to just like, if you tap the other guy, basically like if you tap the other guy before they tapped you, and when I say tap, I just mean like you tap them with your fist, then you won the point.
Then you get a point. And you
It
gotta
wasn't,
get so
but it
many
was
points.
because I remember being at some tournaments where there were some guys who were like, who got thrown out of the tournament because they were like some guy really kicked a dude in the stomach and there was no stomach pads.
Yeah,
So-
it's always weird fighting for me as a kid because
Well, this also isn't real fighting, right? It's at a tournament and it's not.
Well, I would always, because I like have an anxiety disorder, so I'd be disruptive in class and get sent to like in-school suspension. So it's like me and all the other kids that are in there for fighting, and they actually like fighting. I'm the only one that doesn't, so every one of them want to fight me because they always want to fight the kid that doesn't want to fight.
Right.
So like I would get offers to fight.
Ray was in a
like,
fight club.
like nonstop. So like I just think like
Children's
fighting as a
fight
kid,
club.
it's just so like ugh. I fucking hated it.
No.
I
Fighting-
mean, at a certain age, you're all loaded up with testosterone. Kids are trying to figure out how to get that shit out. You know,
Fighting's stupid. Whenever I see, every once in a while, you'll see comedians that, want to fight, and I'm always like, even if I don't like the people,
What?
I'll always break.
I never saw.
Like
I never
physically?
saw- yeah, I don't think-
Physically?
comedians want to fight.
No, I don't think I've
Physically?
seen comedians.
Yeah, I've seen it before.
No.
Being serious? Where's this? In New York?
No, I mean, I've seen it. I saw it in Houston a few times.
I think it's weird when adults in general. I mean, outside of sport, like
Well, yeah,
adult-
I know that's the whole thing, and I'm like, I don't want to. Even if I don't want to get in a fight with somebody because I know I'd be the person that somehow I punched a guy and he fell down and cracked his head on the pavement and died, and now I'm in jail.
Or even if that's not the case,
Or that
it's
would
just
happen
like,
to me.
in what world is it? I mean, I guess I could understand if someone's like really out of line, but I have in many situations
Yeah, I
where
haven't
like
been in,
fighting was the best option.
Of course not.
Dude, the only time I did hit a kid, I hit a kid in 8th grade. I punched a kid in the face, And I thought I was like,
Get it, Ray, because he made fun of you because you wouldn't show him your dick or whatever.
Right.
We've heard this in previous episodes.
yeah. But anyways, I hit him. He did nothing, and I
That was
felt
true, by
like
the way.
I felt like such an asshole. I felt like the biggest. I couldn't have been any nicer to that kid all through high school. I went out of my way to be so nice to that kid.
Yeah.
Just because like I just felt guilt. Like I don't get how anyone could beat the fuck out of someone, then not feel like shit.
Well, usually it's because they're getting beat up at home or some other shit that's damaged their whole frontal
Nah.
lobe or whatever.
Have you ever punched anybody?
Like in anger? I mean, aside from karate class or whatever, I don't think so.
Yeah. Bob, have you punched
I hope
somebody?
you didn't. Well, I hope you wouldn't. You said in anger. It's like, well, I hope you just wouldn't
I don't-
punch people for the fun of it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like aside from like
Well, yeah, but that's not. You know what he means.
yeah.
He
No,
doesn't-
I don't think so. I'm not a
Bob,
fighting
when's the last
type.
time you got in a fight? When did you ever get in a fight?
Last time I got in a fight probably was. I mean, when I was a kid, maybe.
So how old?
Sixth grade. Sixth grade. 17, 18,
Yeah, when the testosterone's flowing.
like 12. At the bus
Starts
stop.
at 12 and then it goes to 17.
Dude, there was a
Or
time
20
like
something.
last time I close got into a
But
fight.
those aren't. You're 12 years old. It's not even a real fight.
Playing a basketball game when I was like 22.
Some 12-year-olds will fuck us up.
Oh, I'm not. But some.
You're not what?
He's not worried.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I'll take that.
I'm afraid of fucking groups of 12-year-olds.
Dude. So if you had to be in a karate thing right now, you still know some of the shit?
Jesus, Ray.
I doubt it. I mean, I probably don't know anymore.
Well, he's into fighting. He likes watching the shit.
No, he's
choreographed
not into fighting. He's into watching choreographed fights on TV and movies.
That's like watching.
There's a huge difference.
It's like watching dancing. Then
I like watching all that stuff too. But
Yeah, I like watching
I wish
dancing
I
too,
could
and
do
I don't-
it, but
but I think more like special effects stuff when I think like action movies. I
So
don't
you're
think,
saying
like,
there's
I
good
mean, that
fight-
too.
no. I mean, nowadays nowadays you have guys that people have stuntmen, but a lot of guys. Jackie Chan obviously does all that stuff. That's why his Asian movies are way different than when he's in like Rush Hour.
Right.
They
Tom
use-
Cruise, too.
They use special effects. Yeah.
Tom Cruise does all his own stunts.
Well-
Dude's fucking in his 50s hanging outside of planes. I got respect for that.
yeah.
My favorite Tom Cruise scene is what was that? He has a dance scene at the end of that movie. What the fuck? Where the dude's in
Yeah,
blackface.
Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
You ever
I
seen
mean,
his-
that's different, but yeah,
he did
Tropic
that
Thunder's
stunt
great.
work too, Ray.
But action-wise, he like broke his leg in one of the later Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah, I mean,
For real?
it's
And just kept fucking going.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
fucking
he-
had to jump from a building to a building. He broke his fucking leg or his ankle or some shit and finished the scene. You could watch on YouTube where he fucking cracks
but
it and keeps
the-
running to
Dude,
finish the
I'm
shot.
not gonna like him hanging out the plane. That was legit real. Him jumping, him parachuting. Same movie.
Yeah.
Or no, it wasn't the same.
And he
movie.
flies a helicopter and like directs
doing all
the
that
cameras
stuff.
in the helicopter.
I get all that
while
stuff.
he learns.
But
to
when he
fly a
broke his ankle, he had all these wires attached to him.
during that jump.
Yeah, they green screened it. He was.
Yeah, I'm sure, but he still broke his fucking ankle and kept running.
I know, but all the other stuff, it's like when you see that, you're like, okay, that's impressive. But he had wires because he couldn't jump that. He couldn't do that in real life.
Yeah, of course.
But like, it's amazing. Yeah, it is amazing that he does all that stuff, and they're those. I mean, it's him doing it, like him skydiving side of the plane. I mean, yes, obviously he's securely strapped to the side of the plane, but fuck that. I mean, who the hell's going to do that?
Yeah,
in real life.
He's like they had to design like special contacts,
But those
so
are
he could
so
keep his eyes open.
Those are like legit. Like,
Are you
as
being
I said,
serious? Wait.
Yeah.
To keep his eyes open?
Somebody's doing the.
When he's hanging off the side of the plane, he's like hooked on, obviously in real life, but his eyes are open, and they had to design special contacts so that he could keep his eyes open while the plane is fucking going up into the air that he's hanging outside
Yeah,
of.
that makes sense.
And
But
he's like 55 years old doing that.
it's funny when you watch those, because then you watch like you see a Tom Cruise movie. You see
Just put a graphic over the eyes.
you see those movies.
Doesn't look the same.
You see those movies, and you're
Original
like, wow,
Jurassic Park looks better for a reason.
This is incredible that he's doing all these stunts. And then you watch like those Fast and Furious movies, And
They're silly.
The stunts, but the stunts are so fake. Like literally, if you're at a Fast and Furious movie, when they do some of these stunts where like a car will jump from one lane to the other on a 2-lane bridge, jump to the other side of the bridge, then another car jumps the other way. Vin Diesel like jumps out, is able to jump in the other car, and even the people in the theater are just like they laugh.
Yeah, because it's like it's silly,
it's so fake,
and it's also not as well done. You know, like you could do that stuff where it's a little bit better, but they're
right. But there's that is literally like through physics impossible for you to do that. So even the people that are the fans that are making these movies make billions of dollars, they laugh. I mean, it's also those guilty pleasure. And people just laugh at these stunts.
Yeah.
But in like a Tom Cruise movie, people are like, "Holy shit!"
Exactly, totally. Dude, or The Raid, which is still absurd, but it's just so well. It's just more skilled. Like those movies, they just spend a lot of money on CGI, basically. But The Raid is like there's much more of a craft. I don't want to say there's no craft to Fast and the Furious, but there's a lot more craft for sure to like The Raid and The Raid 2.
Well, there's almost no realism in those Fast and Furious movies with all their stunts.
Right.
There's legitimately like all the stunts are just like, you know, a car driving from in Dubai, being on the top floor, the penthouse in one building, and driving through the window into the building next to it.
And it's also, again, a lot of it is done in post, whereas The Raid.
Well, of course,
right? But that's what I'm saying.
Yes, they didn't do that. They did it in post.
But the practical effects, I'm saying, like you also feel more realistically. Like,
yeah.
You watch.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Check out on YouTube. There's all these videos of how they shot The Raid, and there's such crazy like interesting ways they devised to even shoot these fights up close. There's a scene that you could watch on YouTube where the cameraman, wears a car seat costume so you can't see him. He's dressed inside a car seat, and they pass a camera in a moving car as they're fighting through the car. The cameraman drives by, hands the camera to the other cameraman who's dressed as a car seat so you can't see him. He grabs the camera, it goes past it through the car and passes it to another camera guy. And so you get this crazy immersive scene of the fight that's just like, you could have done that in post, but it would not have fucking looked like that, you know?
So that's what you're into, man. You're into like the making of those action movies.
I'm into the feeling of when when there's craft to it and it's done well. I like the geeky stuff of the making to it too, especially as somebody who directs videos and edits videos. But when you watch it, like you don't have to be on the like have any knowledge of the other side of it you just feel it. Just like Bob just said, like the difference between the original Jurassic Park and the CGI shit.
Right.
It just doesn't look the same.
Well, I remember when The Raid came out at the theater, it didn't. It didn't play at like all the big, it wasn't like a 3,000.
Yeah, I never even heard about it. I didn't see it.
I saw it in Houston,
later.
And it was at the art. I always call it the artsy fartsy theater, meaning like, and this is like, no, this should be at the AMC, but because it isn't a huge release, it's playing at the. So there were definitely people there that would not have seen this movie if it was playing at the regular AMC movie theater.
Right.
But because it was at the artsy fartsy movie theater that shows like. All the landmark films and, all the Oscar contenders.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess there
were all these old people at the theater that I was like, these people, they know what they're watching, but they would not watch this movie if it wasn't
set off
their
pacemakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
love those. Yeah,
like those Mission Impossible movies and stuff. I mean, I get it. You guys are into it for the action stuff. But like for me, as someone who's just a moviegoer going to watch a movie, the reason why I never did anything for me is watching Mission Impossible. I know it's going to work out. I see he's falling from this impossible angle, and this is going to happen, all this, and it looks like it's hell on earth, and like there's no way he's going to survive.
Yes, you realize Tom Cruise is going to make it every movie.
You already. Do you get what I'm saying? So for me, it's like I'd rather just watch.
Do you like
movie.
the Bond movies?
So you can't.
No,
exactly
same thing. I don't really watch.
So you don't like any?
I'm not really
Can you
into
watch
those
any
crazy
movie
action
with a movie star in it?
So you only watch tragedies? Is that what you're saying?
Movies more so the story. Like that's probably why I was upset with the Joker, the story, because I knew the story.
Why'd
I wanted
you go
to see
see?
that.
Why'd you go see that? You think because
I want to see the story come to life because I know the story. The Joker does end up dying at some point. But I know. But I'm just saying, like the story. I want to see. I guess I'm more the story. Like
he's
I don't.
Not going to die because I guarantee you there's going to be a Joker too.
Yeah, that's why I assumed you were into seeing fighting because I assumed you were into fighting because I was like, all right, well, but you're more into the movie making
He's into
aspect.
watching
No, I'm into
action
watching,
films.
but I just like the way that it comes off when there's good fight choreography and good. Anyway, but that's what I like about Arrow. It's drama. It's all just like fucking pretty people
Are
on
there
the
good
CW.
fight scenes?
Yeah, there's some pretty good fight scenes.
I'll have to check it out.
4 super mass produced. I mean, this is again, they're 8 seasons in. It's like 40-minute episodes. I don't know. There's got to be hundreds of hours of this show. That's a lot.
Shows like that are just amazing when it's like, yeah, it's 8 seasons in, and it's like, I don't know anybody that watches it. That
yeah.
show Supernatural.
I don't know it.
I don't know that
Exactly. It has. I'm not joking. I think it's been
Teen Mom?
It's been on at least
The
12
action is
seasons on
incredible.
TBS.
I mean, it's on CW, so like the whole country's watching
This show
it.
Supernatural.
It's just not
I think it
New
went.
York.
I think it's gone 15 seasons. My sister watches it, and it's been. I think it's been on like 15 seasons. And the fact that you just said, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
It's on TBS.
But it's a fucking global world. You know what I mean? Like, that's a nice thing. You guys got a podcast. There's a lot of people that don't know it exists, and then there's people that do know it exists. And, like, same thing with Arrow.
But I also know you're right. But that show Arrow is not, hugely popular. It's just amazing. But it's
popular,
on
it's
CW.
gotta be
popular.
popular.
No, again,
They're putting
I don't
a lot of
actually
money into it. There's
yeah, exactly. I don't know any
someone's
actual
watching it.
numbers, but clearly it's popular enough for 8 seasons. It's not
Yeah.
cheap. Like
I guarantee
said,
you, the guy that's the guy that's the star of it, he's not getting anywhere near what he would be on a regular network show.
I don't
Yeah,
think.
And
I'm
it's
not
8
saying
seasons.
he's not.
I guarantee you.
No one's
Broadcast
watching it because
gets
of his
paid.
acting. They're watching for the special effects.
CW
I
is
saw- I
not
just
Fox,
watched the
NBC,
trailer.
ABC, or
They're
CBS.
not.
watching for
It's
the
not.
special effects.
John
and
Witherspoon
stuff.
told me when he was on, John Witherspoon,
You know who
Black
he is,
comic.
the black comic.
Ice-T's
Bang,
dad
bang,
in the
bang.
Friday
He was
movies.
on Boomerang and
Ice
all
Cube's
that
dad,
stuff.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
You got to coordinate.
Yeah, he used to.
Oh, yes.
He told me like he was on the Wayans Brothers show that was like on WB or CW, and he was like
They did all their own stunts.
got
That's what he
nothing.
did.
Really?
said he
Did all their
said
own
the money's
stunts.
like nowhere near compared to something that is on like ABC, NBC, CBS, or
Well,
Right,
I just saw the preview of the show because I never watched Arrow.
But they're
there's
dumping money
there's
into the
money
effects.
in the effects. Yeah, it definitely is. I don't know who
Yeah.
the guy is.
It's,
That's the reason why I like it. Is just compared to other stuff I've seen that's like mass produced like that. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like there's
special
pretty good
effects,
stunts.
When I watch a show, it's like Game of Thrones. The story was very good. Game of Thrones, the story is fucking
It's
awesome.
kind of funny when you see
I'm more into the story.
when you see a show nowadays that's actually on TV and it has crappy special effects. It doesn't like special effects have just come so far, and like everything else, the price to make them better has gone down.
Oh, they send that shit to a house in
So,
China
like,
that
there's
fucking
no-
does that shit for like
when
a
you
fraction
see
of
when
what
you
it
see
costs
something
here.
really crappy, you're like, man, what did they?
Yeah, why
is this
how did
so
this
bad?
happen?
Well, that's why I feel about like the new Star Wars. Like even if you're not into the movie, the special effects are incredible. Like,
Yeah, I gave up
that's-
on Star Wars.
That's worth seeing just for the but the special effects are like it's going to be the top
You know
of the line
what?
special
I
effects.
forget what Star Wars movie it was because the last 6, I'm like, eh. I mean,
Same.
I see
Yeah.
them all. I see them all, but
No, I stopped
the
watching.
one where Anakin and Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan kill Count Dooku. No, they kill him at the beginning of the movie. The one before that,
Yeah.
where they're fighting him, and and then Yoda comes in and saves him.
I don't remember. Like
Okay.
I said,
Well, there's a scene where Princess Amidala falls out of a shuttle as they're going to find Dooku. She falls into the sand on Tatooine, and a clone trooper runs up to her and is like, "Are you okay?" But as he runs up to her, I'm looking at it going, "That's not even a real guy. That's a guy." I could tell.
Just a straight up
I could tell it
CGI
was a
thing.
guy. Like it was a guy in a green suit, probably.
Right.
And I was just like, they didn't even let this person wear like a clone trooper suit. I'm just watching it and I'm just like, so that kind of pissed me off because I was able to notice that
Yeah.
when that shouldn't happen in a Star Wars movie should have the greatest special effects.
I thought they did have the greatest special effects.
There's some
They seem
things. I
pretty
mean,
good.
I think a lot of that.
Was
I
better
think a lot of
special
that stuff
effects
is
than
better.
Star Wars.
Like in space, a lot of those special effects are better in space because, or when it's dark, because you can't see as much, so to speak. Like Lord of the Rings and stuff, whenever they're doing all these fights at night and stuff, you can see everything, but the special effects work a lot better, I think.
I haven't
when it's
seen
during
much.
the
I haven't
day.
even seen the Lord of the Rings ones. I didn't even know there were fights in Lord of the
But
Rings.
yeah, well, I mean, the
I
special.
thought you were into these fight movies.
Lord of the Rings is not a fight
that's
movie.
not. Yeah.
I haven't seen.
I
any.
also don't like, in general, and I like the original Star Wars, but I generally don't. I mean, I like some of it, but as a genre, I'm not into like sci-fi fantasy stuff. I don't even
Millennium
consider it.
Falcon
I
right
know.
there,
I don't.
buddy.
I don't consider it a real genre. That's my philosophy.
If there's more fighting, more.
I just
more
don't.
choreographed
I don't think
fight-
sci-fi fantasy. I think it's a setting and not a genre. And so a lot of times I get turned off by it because I feel like people use it as a gimmick to. Try
I
to
like the
sell.
special effects of the Star Wars movies. That's the only thing I like.
Well,
but yeah,
I mean,
the stories have
you had
gone to shit.
lasers and spaceships.
Exactly.
What's wrong with that?
That's not a genre.
That makes it science fiction.
Yeah. I mean, I like some sci-fi.
How can science fiction not be a genre?
Well, I know most people disagree with this, but in my opinion, let's say you have a sci-fi movie that's good, for it to be a good sci-fi movie, it needs to also be a good action movie or a good comedy or a good drama. It needs to be good in an actual genre. Sci-fi to me just feels like a gimmick to sell shit to dorks. And so if it's also good action or something else on top of it, then it's actually that genre.
Well, Star Wars was a good story. Not
but that's
so
what
much
I'm saying.
anymore, but
Star
it was
Wars
a good
was
story.
a space opera, as he called it. But
yeah, it was a good story. That's
a
what
good-
I want. You want to see a good story.
I mean, it
too.
was a classic story.
That's why I didn't
you've
get. That's
seen
why I don't
before,
get into
but-
like
It's a good
the
action
Mission
movie.
Impossibles and all
Yeah,
that.
there's good
shit.
action. I like Harrison Ford is one of my favorite things in the original one. He's very charming
I
and
think
funny in it.
sci-fi is if you have, if it's on another planet, if it's, or in space, or far in the future. You have laser guns. You have spaceships. I mean, obviously, if it's in space, you're using spaceships. I mean, all those, things like any of those things makes it science fiction. I mean,
Right.
science fiction is a genre of like.
But that's what I'm saying. To me, that feels more like a setting. In order for it to be good,
Well, it might be a setting, but does that mean a Western?
a Western
Is a Western? That's a set. That's
it's
a setting.
setting, but it's also like has styles of directing. It has a type of mood that's set in the scenes. It's a little bit more.
But that's a
Yeah,
setting.
like I don't
A
like
Western-
westerns,
a
but I do
Western
like some
doesn't take
movies that
place
just
in
happen
a-
to be westerns.
in the West.
I don't think
necessarily.
there's any westerns that take place in New York City, no matter what time of.
But there are westerns
Time
that take
reference
place
it
in
is. Time reference
space.
it is.
There's westerns that there's stuff that you would call a western that doesn't take place in the wild, wild west.
Yeah, I look at it like.
True.
Do
But
you
there-
really
but
give a
there
fuck?
can
Do you
be
only watch a
science
movie because
fiction
it's a
that
western?
takes place on Earth, but it's just because it's in the future.
Yeah, exactly. It's a setting. But in order for it to be good, there also needs to be good action.
No, a Western has to involve. Like I've heard Star Wars be referred to as a space Western.
Exactly, yeah.
If it all took place on Tatooine,
Yeah.
maybe, but like a Western has to take place. We know what things are in Westerns. You can call it a Western, but if it's not in a dusty town and sheriff, cowboy hats, horses,
Right. And for it to be good, it's going to have
That's a
good
setting.
drama or it's going to have good action. So similarly, Western.
But I think you can science fiction and Western. You can have definitions of both of them in the same thing. To you saying
It's just a way to market
setting.
shit. But in the end, in order for it to be good, it needs to be at its core good in an actual genre of action or drama. Just the basic things that like glue people in emotionally. I've had friends who are like super
Well, yeah,
into
there
sci-fi.
has to be more than just lasers.
But that's the thing is a lot of times
spaceships.
I've seen. I guess this is maybe any
So I don't
genre.
care. Yeah, I mean, if you call it science, if you like add another thing to it, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But it is, science.
I just know I've had a lot of friends who are super into it, try to convince me into it, and they'll send me shit. And like Firefly was one that somebody sent me that they tried to get me to get into. What's the other one? Battlestar Galactica. Firefly and Battlestar Galactica was the two that my buddy who was into sci-fi was like, check these two
the new
out.
Battlestar Galactica.
I think the original one, probably,
The original
but I don't know.
sucked.
But
And
I watched.
I'm sure the new one's the same story, so it's.
I
gotta
probably just
suck.
No,
didn't
it's way
do it
different.
long enough, but
The new one's way different.
Firefly, I remember watching and being like, "This is like fucking like Friends quality drama, but in space. Like this is not good. You just kind of like it because it's in space, but what's happening, what I'm watching, is just kind of like basic ass like television." And then Battlestar Galactica, supposedly I didn't watch it for long enough. My buddy told me I needed to hang on, but it was just a lot of like
No, if you don't like it
Deus
at the
Ex
beginning,
Machina
you're not
type
gonna like it at
cheap
the
plot
end.
devices.
I don't know. I learned I got different movie. I just like
Well,
a good
yeah,
story.
yeah, if you
I
don't-
like any genre.
if you don't- yeah,
if
if you
it's a
don't like-
western, I gotta like
If you
the
don't
story.
like science fiction, I mean,
Science. I'm not gonna watch a movie because it's a western or watch it. 'Cause I just need a good story.
Not everybody likes everything.
That's it.
Uh,
So he likes dance fighting.
yeah,
That's his.
dude, that Capoeira one. What was that Capoeira?
Bananue,
Bananue,
only the strong.
Cockroach, yeah, only
I know.
the strong.
Believe me, I know all
What's
that.
great
stuff.
What
one.
movie's that?
Only the strong.
Starring the main bad guy henchman in John Wick 3. That bald guy.
Oh, really?
That's Mark Dacascos.
Wow. How cool is that? I had no idea.
I know a lot of dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
Mark Dacascos, who also, before that, a lot of people only knew him as when they made the American version of Iron Chef. He was the stadium, whatever, the main guy that would introduce the secret ingredient.
Huh.
Whatever of stadium, whatever.
We should only hope to have
But
such
that
a
guy,
long-standing
that guy
career.
who was the bald guy, John Wick 3 from Only the Strong, 1993. I worked at the movie theater. He his IMDb page is like huge because he's been in a bunch of action movies.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, once you're experienced in that shit, you just know how
Yeah,
to
he was like he like grew up.
cameras.
His dad was a famous whatever. I don't forget what his style of karate was, but he's been doing it for. I mean, he's been.
I heard he was a yellow belt.
a ton
at
of
least.
movies.
At least. I seen
ton
him.
of direct to DVD, Sci-Fi Network, ton of
Right.
action movies.
All right, Boris, where can we find you, buddy? We're gonna get ready to roll out.
Yeah, at the Boris K. Twitter, Instagram,
The silent K
Facebook.
at the Boris.
Yeah, it's actually
No.
Boris H.
Yeah, no,
Technically.
it said at Boris K on Twitter.
Yep, TheBoris.
Ray will put a link on the
Yeah,
site.
talk over him as he says it, just like I did, Bob. Here we go. Take 3. Where can they find you, Boris?
At THE. You know, never mind.
At what?
Yeah, now I talked over myself. Just the rule of threes. At the Boris K.
Boom. All right. Thanks for doing this, buddy.
Yep, thanks for
Thanks,
having me.
Boris. Step up to the G hole when you get a chance.